Have you ever felt like life is conspiring to test you, as though every challenge, every heartbreak, and every failure was placed in your path to see if you could endure? I have. And let me tell you this, that sense of struggle, that burning frustration, is not the enemy, it's the secret. Nietzsche called it amor fati, the love of fate. But why would anyone love struggle, pain, or difficulty? What if I told you that the very things you resist most might actually hold the key to your greatest strength? Imagine this: you're climbing a mountain, and halfway up, the rocks beneath your feet are loose. The air gets thinner, and your legs feel like they're on fire. Every fiber of your being screams at you to quit. But what if, instead of quitting, you embraced the pain, leaned into the struggle, and allowed it to transform you? What if the mountain wasn't a barrier but a teacher? Nietzsche believed that life's greatest gift isn't comfort or pleasure, it's the opportunity to become something greater. And that opportunity only exists through struggle. What does not kill me makes me stronger, he famously said. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what does strength really mean? Is it the ability to endure pain? Or is it the wisdom that comes from facing it? Think about your own life for a moment. When you look back at the hardest moments, the heartbreak, the loss, the failures, didn't they, in some strange way, shape you? Didn't they force you to grow in ways you never anticipated? If you're honest with yourself, you'll realize that those struggles didn't just happen to you, they happened for you. But here's the catch: most of us run from pain. We avoid it, numb it, or distract ourselves from it. Why? Because we've been conditioned to believe that pain is bad. Society tells us to pursue comfort, to seek pleasure, to avoid anything that feels difficult. But Nietzsche challenges this idea. He asks us to flip it on its head. What if the things we fear most, failure, rejection, hardship, are actually the very things we need most?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
Do you ever wonder why we admire people who've endured great struggles? The athlete who trains tirelessly, the artist who pours their soul into their work, the entrepreneur who risks everything to build something meaningful, they inspire us because they embody a truth we all know deep down: greatness is born from struggle. But here's the uncomfortable question: are you willing to embrace your own struggle? Are you willing to stop running from discomfort and start seeing it as a gift? Let's pause here for a moment. Imagine a world without struggle. Imagine if every wish you ever had was instantly granted, every goal easily achieved. At first, it might sound like paradise, but think deeper. If nothing ever challenged you, would you ever grow? If there was no resistance, would you ever discover your strength? Nietzsche believed that life's value lies not in avoiding struggle, but in overcoming it. He called this the will to power, the drive to rise above circumstances, to shape your destiny, to become the person you're meant to be. But here's the thing: that transformation doesn't happen by accident. It requires something from you. It requires courage. Courage to face your fears. Courage to fail. Courage to keep going when everything inside you wants to quit. And most of all, courage to believe that your struggle has meaning. So let me ask you, what struggle are you facing right now? Is it a relationship that's falling apart? A dream that feels out of reach? A battle with self-doubt or fear? Whatever it is, I want you to consider this: what if this struggle isn't here to defeat you? What if it's here to teach you, to strengthen you, to awaken something within you that you didn't even know existed? Nietzsche believed that struggle and suffering are not only inevitable but necessary. Why? Because they force us to confront the truth about ourselves. They strip away our illusions, our excuses, and our distractions. They reveal who we really are. But here's the twist: we don't just endure struggle. We are shaped by it. Like a blacksmith forging steel, the heat and pressure of life's challenges can either break us or transform us into something unbreakable. The choice is ours. But let's be honest, embracing struggle isn't easy. It's messy, it's painful, it's uncomfortable, and sometimes it feels downright impossible. So how do we do it? How do we turn our pain into power? The first step is to change the way we see struggle. Instead of viewing it as a curse, we need to see it as an opportunity. Instead of asking, why me, we need to ask, what can I learn from this? But more importantly, we need to stop waiting for the struggle to end. So many of us tell ourselves, I'll be happy when this is over. I'll be at peace when this problem is solved, but Nietzsche would argue that the goal isn't to escape struggle, it's to embrace it, to find meaning in it, to love it. This brings us to one of Nietzsche's most radical ideas, amor fati. It means love of fate, not just acceptance of fate. Not just tolerance of fate, but love. To love your life exactly as it is, with all its pain, all its challenges, all its imperfections. But how do we love something that hurts? How do we embrace the very thing we want to avoid? Nietzsche's answer is simple, yet profound, by realizing that struggle is what makes life worth living. It's what gives our lives depth, meaning, and beauty. Think about it, a life without struggle is a life without growth. A life without challenge is a life without triumph. And a life without pain is a life without joy, because it's only through contrast that we come to truly appreciate the things that matter most. So let me ask you again, what are you struggling with right now? And more importantly, how are you responding to that struggle? Are you resisting it, resenting it, or running from it? Or are you leaning into it, learning from it, and allowing it to transform you? Here's a thought experiment. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. Look back at the struggles you're facing today. What do you think your future self would say to you? Would they thank you for persevering? For having the courage to keep going? For turning your pain into power? Or would they wish you had taken a different path? The truth is, we can't always control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. And in that response lies our power. So the next time you're faced with a challenge, remember this: you are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the author of your story. And every struggle, every setback, every failure is a chance to write a new chapter. But will you take it? Will you embrace your struggle? Will you love your fate? Or will you let it break you? The choice is yours. Let's go deeper. You see, struggle isn't just something we endure, it's something that shapes who we are. It chisels away at the surface of our existence, carving out the essence of our identity. But here's the paradox: most of us never realize this until we're on the other side of the struggle. So let me ask you, who are you becoming through your struggles? Nietzsche believed that the purpose of life isn't to merely exist, but to become, and to evolve, to strive towards something higher. He called this the process of becoming the Übermensch, or the Overman now. Don't let the term intimidate you. The Übermensch isn't some unreachable ideal. It's simply the best version of yourself, the version forged through fire, failure, and the relentless pursuit of growth. But here's the thing about becoming: it's not linear, it's not pretty, and it's definitely not easy. Imagine a seed buried in the dark soil. To grow, it has to push through the dirt, stretch toward the light, and weather countless storms. That's what struggle does to us. It buries us, tests us, and ultimately forces us to rise. Think about your own life. Who were you before your struggles? And who are you now because of them? Maybe you've gained resilience. Maybe you've discovered strengths you never knew you had. Or maybe you've simply learned to appreciate the beauty of small victories. Whatever the case, it's clear that struggle has played a role in shaping you. But here's the big question: are you willing to let struggle define you, or will you use it to redefine yourself? Let's break this down. Most people go through life reacting to what happens to them. They let their circumstances dictate their identity. I'm this way because of my past, they say. I can't change because of what I've been through. But Nietzsche challenges this mindset. He believed that we have the power to shape our own identity, not in spite of our struggles, but because of them. So, how do we do this? How do we take control of who we're becoming? The first step is to adopt what Nietzsche called a creative view of life. Instead of seeing yourself as a passive recipient of fate, see yourself as an artist and your life as your masterpiece. Every struggle, every failure, every setback is like a brushstroke on the canvas. It might not make sense in the moment, but when you step back and look at the bigger picture, you'll see how it all comes together. But here's the catch: being an artist of your own life requires courage. It requires you to take responsibility for your story, even the messy parts. It requires you to stop blaming your past, your circumstances, or other people for who you are. Because the truth is, you can't rewrite the past, but you can decide what it means. Let me give you an example. Imagine two people who've both experienced failure. The first person sees their failure as proof that they're not good enough. They give up, shrink back, and let that failure define them. The second person, however, sees their failure as a lesson. They learn from it, grow because of it, and use it as fuel to keep going. Same struggle, two completely different outcomes. So let me ask you, how do you interpret your struggles? Are they a burden or a blessing? A curse or a calling? The answer you choose will determine the person you're becoming. And this brings us to a profound truth: struggle doesn't just shape your identity, it shapes your purpose. Think about it. Some of the greatest contributions to the world have come from people who've endured incredible struggles. Martin Luther King Jr., Malala Yousafzai, Viktor Frankl, these are individuals who didn't just survive their struggles, they transformed them into something meaningful. They used their pain to fuel their purpose. But what about you? What purpose is your struggle pointing you toward? Take a moment to reflect. Maybe your struggle is teaching you empathy, so you can help others who are suffering. Maybe it's teaching you resilience, so you can tackle bigger challenges in the future. Or maybe it's simply teaching you patience, so you can appreciate the beauty of life's small moments. Whatever the case, your struggle isn't meaningless. It's preparing you for something greater. But here's the question I want you to wrestle with. Are you willing to let your struggle guide you? Or will you resist it, resent it, and miss the opportunity it holds? Nietzsche believed that purpose isn't something we find, it's something we create. It's not out there waiting for us, it's within us, waiting to be uncovered. And often it's only through struggle that we discover what truly matters. So let's dig deeper. What would happen if you stopped seeing your struggle as something to escape and started seeing it as something to embrace? What if you leaned into the discomfort, the uncertainty, and the pain, trusting that it's leading you somewhere meaningful? This isn't just philosophical theory, it's practical wisdom. Every time you face a challenge, you have a choice. You can see it as an obstacle, or you can see it as an opportunity. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. But let's be honest, this is easier said than done. When you're in the middle of a struggle, it's hard to see the bigger picture. It's hard to believe that your pain has a purpose. That's why Nietzsche's philosophy is so powerful. It reminds us to trust the process. To trust that even the darkest moments have meaning, even if we can't see it yet. Think about it when you're lifting weights at the gym. Your muscles don't grow during the workout. They grow afterward during the recovery process. The same is true for life. It's often in the aftermath of struggle that we find clarity, strength, and purpose, but only if we're willing to embrace the struggle in the first place. So let me ask you one final question. What are you becoming through your struggles? Are you becoming bitter, or are you becoming better? Are you shrinking back, or are you rising up? Are you letting life happen to you, or are you taking control of your story? The choice is yours. But remember this: every struggle is an opportunity to become more of who you're meant to be. Every challenge is a chance to uncover your purpose. And every moment of pain is a reminder that you're alive, that you're growing, and that you're becoming. Let's dive into the heart of the matter. Struggle, on its own, doesn't automatically make us stronger. If that were true, everyone who faced hardship would emerge from it transformed, empowered, and unbreakable. But we know that's not the case. Some people rise above their struggles, others are crushed by them. So, the real question isn't why do we struggle, but how can we use struggle to grow stronger? Strength isn't given, it's earned. And Nietzsche believed that strength comes not from avoiding struggle, from wrestling with life's challenges and emerging on the other side transformed. But how do we do this? How do we take the raw, chaotic energy of struggle and turn it into something meaningful? The first step is to change the way we see struggle. Most of us look at hardship as something to endure, something to get through. But Nietzsche challenges us to go further. He asks us to see struggle as a partner, not an enemy. To see it as a force that's here to teach us, to shape us, and to push us toward our highest potential. But this requires a mindset shift. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me, ask, what is this trying to teach me? Instead of resisting the pain, lean into it, explore it. Understand it. Because only when we face our struggles head-on can we begin to transform them. Let me give you a practical example. Think about the process of forging steel. To make it strong, it must first be exposed to intense heat, then hammered repeatedly, and finally cooled. This process doesn't destroy the steel, it strengthens it. The same is true for us. Struggle is the heat. Life's challenges are the hammer. And if we allow ourselves to go through this process, we come out stronger, sharper, and more resilient. But here's the catch: the transformation doesn't happen automatically. It requires effort. It requires intention. And most of all, it requires a belief that the struggle is worth it. So let me ask you, do you believe your struggle has a purpose? This question is crucial because our beliefs shape our reality. If you believe your struggle is meaningless, you'll resist it. You'll fight against it. And in doing so, you'll miss the opportunity to grow. But if you believe your struggle has a purpose, you'll approach it with curiosity, with courage, and with a willingness to learn. But how do we find purpose in our struggles? How do we take something painful and turn it into something meaningful? The answer lies in a concept Nietzsche called self-overcoming. This is the idea that our greatest growth comes not from avoiding struggle, but from overcoming it. It's about challenging ourselves, pushing beyond our limits, and using our struggles as a springboard for growth. Think about it: every time you push yourself beyond what you thought was possible, you grow. Every time you face a fear, take a risk, or confront a challenge, you expand your capacity for growth. This is self-overcoming. And it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving. But here's the thing: self-overcoming doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in the real world, in the messy, unpredictable chaos of life. It happens when you take action, even when you're scared. When you keep going, even when you want to quit. When you choose to believe in yourself, even when everything around you seems to be falling apart. So let me ask you again, what are you doing to overcome your struggles? Are you taking action, Or are you waiting for things to get better on their own? Are you leaning into the discomfort, or are you avoiding it? Are you using your pain as fuel, or are you letting it consume you? These are hard questions, but they're necessary. Because the truth is, no one else can overcome your struggles for you. No one else can transform your pain into power. That's your job. That's your responsibility. But here's the good news: you're not alone. Every human being on this planet is facing their own struggles, their own battles, their own challenges. And every single one of us has the capacity to rise above them. So how do we do it? How do we rise above? The first step is to develop what Nietzsche called a yes-saying attitude. This means saying yes to life, not just the parts you like, but all of it. The pain, the joy, the struggle, the triumph. It means accepting life as it is, not as you wish it to be. But acceptance doesn't mean passivity. It doesn't mean giving up or resigning yourself to your circumstances. On the contrary, it means taking full responsibility for your life. It means recognizing that no matter what happens to you, you have the power to choose your response. And this brings us to the second step: action. Nietzsche believed that the key to overcoming struggle is action. Not just any action, but intentional, purposeful action. Action that aligns with your values, your goals, and your vision for the future. So let me ask you, what action are you taking today to rise above your struggles? Maybe it's a small step having a difficult conversation, setting a boundary, or taking a leap of faith. Or maybe it's a bigger step pursuing a dream, letting go of something that's holding you back, or redefining what success means to you. Whatever it is, remember this action is the bridge between struggle and strength. Without it, struggle remains just that, a struggle. But with action, struggle becomes something more. It becomes a catalyst for growth, a source of wisdom, a path to transformation. And this leads us to the final step: reflection. After every struggle, take time to reflect on what you've learned. What did the experience teach you about yourself, about others, about life? Because here's the truth: struggle isn't just something we go through, it's something we grow through. But growth only happens when we take the time to reflect, to learn, and to integrate those lessons into our lives. So let me ask you one final question: what have your struggles taught you? Maybe they've taught you resilience. Maybe they've taught you patience. Or maybe they've taught you something deeper, something about who you are and what you're capable of. Whatever the case, remember this: your struggles are not a sign of weakness. They're a sign of strength. They're a reminder that you're alive, that you're growing, that you're becoming. And as Nietzsche would say, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. So what's your why? What's the purpose behind your struggle? And how will you use it to rise above? The choice is yours. But know this: every step you take, every challenge you face, every struggle you overcome is bringing you closer to the person you're meant to be. Embrace the struggle. Love your fate. Rise above. Because in the end, the hidden power of struggle isn't just strength, it's transformation. And that transformation is the key to becoming the best version of yourself.